Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Started boiling. You have the cover to do this back. Right, it's fine. Oh, no problem. This one? Yes. I'll wash it.
Hmm. I don't know. Check upstairs. Okay, okay. Check once more. She must be upstairs. Surrounding sound pick up करता बोल.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Hare. हरि बोल प्रभु जी. हरि बोल.
Prabhuji, take mic.
You get extra XP.
Hare Krishna. So, as I was saying that most of you know Shankaranand Prabhu. He's a senior disciple of His Holiness Radharani Swami Maharaj, practicing Krishna consciousness from India, and Govinda Priya Mataji, both of them are husband and wife, and they are leading our Chant and Be Happy group, and many of you are part of that. Just to give a background about it, we read every day, morning and evening, Prabhupada's books and different acharyas' works as well. If you are interested in fixing up your sadhana, I would recommend that you see me at the end of the class. Okay. Now I will I'll request Shankaranand Prabhu to give a session, and the QA session, the speciality of QA session is that both Shankaranand Prabhu and Govinda Priya Mataji have agreed to answer the question. So, thank you.
This group chanting Be Happy, I remember a few years ago, in 2019 actually we started. November 2019. It was 19 or 18? I don't remember. Yeah. I think 2018. Yeah. So November 2018 we started, and it was Sachinandan Hariko who actually asked me, Prabhu, can we chant together every day? So I said, okay, let's start. So it was just Sachinandan Hariko, and initially started, and then slowly and slowly we were given to Sukeshwari Mataji and more and more Radharani. But three people have been always at the foundation of the whole group. They were given to Sachinandan Hariko and Sukeshwari Mataji. They had actually been pushing forward and make sure that more and more devotees join and consistently continue the service of the group. Now, of course, many devotees lead the calls. Sometimes Sitaram Madhavi also leads the call. Sometimes Sridhi Madhavi leads the call. And Sudevi Madhavi. And so many devotees have started contributing. So it's not just one person's, but it's actually the contribution from the entire group which keeps this group going on. Sometimes you have 10 devotees, sometimes you have 25 devotees, but that doesn't matter. The whole idea is the group is available. Anyone wants to join and uplift their Krishna consciousness and uplift their sadhana. The group is always available. Sometimes when I'm not able to join, but still the group goes on. So that's a great
No, no. It's tall. Usually give me a spoon.
There's a saying in Hindi, for tall people especially. बड़े हैं तो क्या हुआ, जैसे पेड़ खजूर, पंथी को छाया नहीं, फल लागे अति दूर. I don't know how many you understand, but the summit substance is somebody may have a big name, but the big name is like the khajur tree. You know, khajur tree. Khajur tree generally is very tall. So the tall tree and it has very few leaves only. So as far as shade is concerned, nobody really gets the shade, you know, because it has only few leaves. And if you want to get the fruit, you have to climb such tall trees. So nobody really climbs easily. Basically useless. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swavatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Radharani Shri Guru Vaishnavanshya Shri Rupam Sagratam Sagrana Raghunatham Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagrana Haritam Shri Shakan Vitamsha Shri Krishna Karma Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Bhakta Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namaskar Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. First of all, I would like to thank Ramji, Prabhu and Radharani Mataji for opening their homes to all of us. And I have been watching since yesterday evening, and yesterday night when I came. A lot of arrangement they have been, the whole home is shuffled, upside down, just to accommodate everyone. So thank you very much, Mataji. We just had Janmashtami celebration, and in few days we'll be having another major festival of the year, Radhashtami coming. So I think this will be the most appropriate time to meditate on the mood of that festival. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami speaks one verse, which actually Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained in 61 different ways to Sanatana Goswami. Atma Ramascha Manayo Nirgrantha Api Urukramayo Kurvanti Ahetukim Bhaktim Ittha Bhuta Guno Hari. So, this verse enumerates the amazing or most extraordinary qualities of Krishna. Atma Ramasya Munayo. Atma Rama means a person who's more or less self-satisfied, doesn't have any dependency on others. Of course, Chaitanya have to explain that each and every verse in that, each and every word in that verse in so many different ways. But more or less, the word Atmanam refers to a person who is self-sufficient, does not really depend on anyone else for one's happiness. So it's not talking about Krishna being Atmanam. It's talking about people who in this world are in the category of Atmanam, self-sufficient. Atmanamascha Munayo, and also Munis. The word Muni, Srila Prabhupada explains in many places as a person who's expert at agitating his mind in so many philosophical ways. So Muni means a person who is very philosophical, who looks at every aspect of life in a very philosophical way. In general, that will be the meaning. Atma Ramashchamana Nirgrantha. Nirgrantha means, it could have actually several meanings, but in general, Nirgrantha means a person who has no attachments to anyone in this world. You see, attachment is the source of a lot of emotions, different emotions that take birth in people. So, for example, attachment to the family creates a lot of anxiety in people. Say, for example, for a householder, if the very anticipation of losing a job creates a lot of anxiety. Oh, what will happen? How will I take care of family? Because there's attachment to the family. So, that's just one simple example. Attachment causes different emotions. Sometimes anger. Sometimes people, they have attachment to the country. They feel very much enraged. Some people have attachment to their religion. Religious fanatics. They actually develop hatred for others. Right? So attachment actually causes so many different emotions in different people. Nirgrantha, api, all these categories, api means all these categories of Atmanams, Muni and Nirgranthas, they kurvanti ahetuki bhakti. Hetu generally is explained the word where some motive is involved. I am doing something so that I get something in return. But ahetu means without any anticipation or expectation of getting anything in return. Kurvanti ahetuki bhakti. So all these categories of people, they get attracted to do bhakti, which Prabhupada says translation as devotional service. Unmotivated devotional service. They perform into Lord Hari. Itham bhuta guno Hari. Such are the unparalleled qualities of Hari, the Supreme Lord. So, Krishna has such unparalleled attributes which attracts practically anyone and everyone. Srimad Bhagavatam, there is the few examples like Shukdev Goswami. Shukdev Goswami was actually one of the Atmaramas. Completely self-satisfied. Had no attraction for the material world or material pleasures. As soon as he was born, he remained in the womb of his mother for 16 years. When he was born as a 16-year-old youth, he simply walked away from he didn't even look at his mother or father. Just imagine. A child born doesn't even look at his parents and just walks away. That's how satisfied he was within himself. Because see, human beings have different needs. Physical needs, emotional needs, spiritual needs. But Shukdev Goswami was so self-satisfied, he didn't even, his father is running behind him. My dear son, my dear son. and he doesn't even look back. And his father is not an ordinary person. His father is Lord Narayan in the form of Vyasdev. And still, Shukdev Goswami walks away. And that Atmaram, when he simply hears a couple of verses about the glorification of Krishna, he gets attracted to Krishna. He wants to hear more about Krishna. Just imagine a person who doesn't have any attraction to anything, hears just a couple of verses describing Krishna, and he gets attracted. I want to hear more about this person. You may think, we have been hearing so many verses about Krishna, why we don't feel? Because our condition is, because we have so many attachments or attraction to so many things of this world. Atmanam, like Shukdev Goswami, he's like a clean slate, doesn't have anything written on it, blank. So it's easy to write something on it. Whereas our consciousness is scribbled like a child takes the pen for a whole day, just keeps scribbling on the page. By the end of the day, how you will have? That is how messed up our consciousness is. So much, so many distractions in our consciousness. But Shukdev Goswami was such an Atmanam. So naturally, when he hears just two verses from, glories of Krishna, he naturally gets attracted to it. Lord Chaitanya, during his explanation to Narmuni, explained how even nirgranthas, nirgrantha means people who have no attachment. Now this grantha word actually has several meanings. Grantha means the scriptures, that's also called grantha. Like in Punjabis they have, Sikh especially, they have Guru Granth Sahib. They call it Guru Granth Sahib. So grantha means scriptures. Grantha means attachment. So, or grantha means also having affection for someone. That's also called grantha. Nirgrantha means no attachment, no affection. So, nirgrantha can also refer to a very cruel person who has absolutely no mercy to anyone. He's also called nirgrantha. And nirgrantha also means a person who doesn't care for the scriptures, completely averse, doesn't care about it. Especially there's a category of saintly sadhus who are called avadhutas. So avadhutas are also even Shaivites. There are some sadhus called aghoras. They don't follow any rules and regulations. So they are called nirgrantha. Nirgrantha means no care for following the rules and regulations of scriptures. Rules and regulations of the scriptures are meant for uplifting a person from contaminated stage to a purified stage. But these nirgranthas generally are the people who have attained realization, spiritual realization, and they can see that these rules and regulations have become obstacle for their further advancement in spiritual life. So they become indifferent. Like Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, in the one verse, Yadate moha kalilam buddhi vatarishati tada gantasi nirvedyam shrotavyasya shutasya. So that verse is describing in Bhagavad Gita exactly what nirgrantha is. Yadate moha kalilam. Moha means when delusion, when we actually hear so many things and we take it for granted that it's actually reality, and then we get diverted in so many directions. Like for example, when we come to Krishna consciousness newly, what devotee say? No rules, regulation. I have, I like eating meat. No problem, continue eating. Prabhu, I've been drinking liquor, I can't give up. No problem, keep drinking, no problem. Just chant Hare Krishna. You know? So, somebody may say, oh, they told you no problem. You know? But the whole idea is if you continue chanting, if you start chanting Hare Krishna, if you come in the association of devotee, slowly and gradually you will give up all the bad habits. Right? But the idea is to inspire a person, even though not following the rules and regulation, inspire him to be in the good association and take some positive practice. Okay? But Krishna says, when your intelligence is passed through the dense forest of delusion, means when you hear so many things from the scriptures, meat eating is bad, gambling is bad, intoxication is, and then after that you start hearing that, wearing, I'll just give you a few examples, wearing new clothes on certain days is actually bad. And here in the scriptures. Or, for example, entering into the new home on certain nakshatras, on certain days is very bad. Or starting even the construction of home in certain months is extremely bad. It can bring ruination to the owners of the home. We have no control over it now, right? So, you may feel confused hearing so many instructions. How can I follow all of that? And somewhere you will find even contradictory instruction. Okay? If you do, say for example, start your journey on such and such nakshatra, you will have such positive result. Another place may say you start this journey in same nakshatra, you will meet with ruination. So you get completely confused. I'm hearing one thing here, I'm hearing another thing here. So what I should do, I should do or I shouldn't do. It creates a lot of confusion in the mind of a person. So Krishna says, Nirgrantha means a person who hears all these things, but he is indifferent to all of this. Tada gantasi nirvedam. He becomes indifferent to whatever he has heard and whatever he may hear in the future also. Shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. What he has already heard, what he may hear in the future, he becomes completely indifferent to that. That is the person called Nirgrantha. Means he has no attachment to any rules and regulations of scriptures. Because he has understood. His intelligence has already passed through that delusion. His mind is completely fixed on the topmost principles. That to remember Krishna is actually the ultimate goal of my life. So such a person does not really feel distracted by the rules and regulations of scriptures. So, such nirgranthas also get attracted to Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya explained to Sanatana Goswami, another meaning of nirgrantha is who have no mercy to anyone. And that's when Lord Chaitanya narrated the pastime of Mrigari, the hunter. So nirgrantha means also a hunter. Lord Chaitanya explained how a hunter whose name was actually Mrigari, he was a determined enemy of all the animals. In fact, he derived great happiness from hunting. Not just hunting, but hunting the animals, killing the animals in such a way that they suffered tremendously before dying. We were discussing yesterday evening, the different modes of material nature impel people to actually, develop different kind of inclinations. So hunters are people generally in the mode of ignorance, deep in the mode of ignorance. So this hunter was actually extraordinarily, empowered in the mode of ignorance. He would kill the animals half dead. And when he saw the animals, suffering, it gave him such a great joy. And such hunter was inspired by Narad Muni. First Narad Muni, asked him, my dear sir, I want to ask you just one condition. Can you give me one thing if I ask you? the hunter thought, saintly people generally they ask for deer skin or tiger skin. So he said, yes, if you want deer skin or tiger skin, I can give you. He said, no, I don't want any skin. No. I want just one thing from you, that when you kill the animals, you are killing the animal, that is your profession. There's nothing wrong in that. But when you're killing the animals, stop torturing them. Kill them instantly. So the hunter naturally got curious. Well, what is the difference? Whether I kill them half or I kill them instantly, what difference does it really make? They're anyway going to die, right? I'm not going to spare them. No, don't spare them, but just kill them instantly. Because when you are tormenting them or torturing those animals, you are creating excessive karmic reaction for you. So Hunter didn't know what is karmic reaction. Narad Muni by his mystic power showed him that how he will suffer in the future for all the sins that he is committing. Narad Muni is actually expert mystic. He did the similar thing to King Bhagishat. Bhagishat was performing so many yajnas. He showed him also. So Mrigari, when he saw what kind of suffering is due to him in the future, he got really scared. And he asked Narad Muni, is there a way to be redeemed from this suffering that I'm going to face in the future? And Narad Muni said, yes, you can. And Narad Muni gave him this Hare Krishna Mahamantra to chant and told him to break his bow and never hunt any animals anymore. So even this hunter accepting the Narad Muni, he had concern how I'm going to maintain the family, and Narad Muni took care of that concern as well. So he naturally started chanting, and people, when they heard about Hunter has become a Vaishnava, so many neighboring people would come to see a hunter who has been transformed into a Vaishnava, into a saint. And of course in India the custom is whenever you go to see some saintly person, you bring some gifts, some atta, some dal, some rice. So these people were bringing so much in abundance. That's Mrigari. I was thinking, but the Guru Maharaj said he will send, but he is sending too much. He was praying to Narad Muni in the heart, please don't send me too much. This is too much, I just, whatever I want, send me only that much. So later on when Narad Muni comes to visit him with Angira Muni, this hunter is coming, and when he's coming, approaching Narad Muni and trying to offer his obeisances, he's not just coming walking straight, he's just jumping here and there. And before bowing down to Narad Muni, he actually sweeps the floor with his cloth, and then he bows down. And Narad Muni is inquiring, okay, before offering obeisance or while coming also you were jumping this way, that way, what was the reason? And he said, there were so many ants on the way, I didn't want to hurt them. Just imagine. This was such a cruel hunter who was delighted seeing the suffering of animals. It gave him so much joy. He's not willing to harm even an ant. So Lord Chaitanya gave this example that how even the most cruel hunters get attracted to do devotional service to Krishna. Kurvanti ahetu kim bhakti. In fact, in entire material and spiritual existence, there is no one who cannot be attracted to Krishna. No one. Even the most atheistic people, if they simply hear a word about Krishna, they will naturally be attracted. The unfortunate thing is, in the current situation in the world, most of the population, especially in the part of the world where we live, they don't even get to hear the name of Krishna, the name of Lord Hari. We were discussing yesterday the impact of Sankirtan. If you simply go out and chant on the street the names of Krishna. Anyone who hears it, who has never heard about Krishna, not only in this lifetime, but maybe millions of lifetimes, never heard anything about Krishna, even that person's love will be awakened for Krishna. He will be naturally attracted to Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada, when he told devotees to go out on the streets and chant, it was actually to do the greatest welfare to people so that they can be attracted to Krishna. Misfortune of people if they don't even get to hear anything about Krishna. So devotees, out of their compassion, they go out and create that good fortune. So, these different categories of Atmaranas, they naturally get attracted to Krishna. But the interesting thing is, same Krishna, he is attracted to the love of his devotees. Srila Vishwanath Thakur, he says, Krishna is Supreme Lord and everything and everyone is completely under his control. Ajita, Jitospe, Lord Krishna is called Ajita. Ajita means nobody can conquer him. He is able to conquer everyone. But there is one thing that Krishna cannot conquer. On the contrary, Krishna is conquered by that one thing, and that is prema, the love. So, if somebody decides, okay, I want to perform devotional service to Krishna, I want to love Krishna, anyone just simply thinks like this. Although Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he is capable of doing anything and everything. He has no control over the person saying, don't love me. In fact, the moment somebody thinks like that, Krishna, I want to love you, just even thinking in the mind like that, with all the contamination and pollution within her, a person simply thinks like that, Krishna, I really want to love you. Krishna comes under control of such a person. He has no control over that person. He becomes controlled by such a person. And Vishwanath Thakur says, this is not some flaw in Krishna. This is one of the most beautiful ornament in the character of Krishna. That is controlled by the love of his devotees. And of course, there are different categories of devotees, different devotees in different rasas, in different ratis, they are attracted to Krishna. And Krishna is under the control of all these devotees. Sometimes, those who hear about these different categorization of rati or love for Krishna, like Shanta rati, Dasya rati, Sakhya rati, Vatsalya rati, and Madhuri rati. In Madhuri also there are 3 categories of rati. So somebody who hears these different analysis thinks, oh, Krishna is not controlled by Shantya rati. No, it's not like that. All these ratis, all these attachment or love for Krishna, even in Shantaras, completely conquers Krishna. When Durvasa Muni offended Amrish Maharaj and he went to Brahma, he went to Lord Shiva, and ultimately went to Lord Vishnu. What did Lord Vishnu say? Aham bhakta paradhino. My dear Durvasa Muni, I am completely paradhina. Adhin means to be subordinate, but paradhin means completely. Para is considered the word, I think, Vadyun who can explain the word. Para is used in the sense of highest degree. Brahman, para Brahman. So para is used in that sense. So, aham bhakta paradhinam. completely under the control of my devotees. Sat Striya Sat Patim Yatha. My devotees bring me under control just like a chaste wife brings a gentle husband under the control. So, no matter in which stage of devotion a devotee is, a person who is performing unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service to Krishna, Krishna comes under control of such a devotee. And all these categories. But then, the intensity of Krishna's love, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, ye yatha mam prapadyanti tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. I reciprocate with devotees as they approach me. So what kind of love, what kind of attachment a devotee has for Krishna, Krishna reciprocates accordingly. So in the Shankarati, a person has tremendous love and appreciation for the Lord. But there is no intense desire to serve the Lord. Appreciation is there, but there is no service attitude. But in Dasyarati, a person is more attracted not just with appreciation, but wants to do some service to the Lord in a mood of a servant. That Krishna, you are my master and I am your servant. Please let me do some service. And we know many examples. Hanuman is one of the examples of Dasyarati. So eager to serve the Lord. And Raktaka, for example, in Vrindavan, in the mood of servant. He is always eager to serve Mother Yashoda and Krishna, assisting Mother Yashoda to serve and decorate Krishna. And then Sakhyarati, when the love is more intensified, when a person does not see Krishna as master, but he sees him as equal. This kind of analysis, or this kind of even thinking Supreme Lord as one's friend, not to be found in practically any religion. Or people can't even imagine God as your friend. Where can you find such a wonderful possibility of having relationship with the Lord? So, in Sakhyarati, a living entity becomes more intensely, attracted to Krishna in such a way that thinking Krishna to be equal. Like now the Thakur, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when the cowherd boys, they see Krishna, they tell him, what kind of big man are you? You and me are equal. In fact, when Krishna was in Mathura's Kamsa's arena, in that arena of wrestling, when he killed all the 5 wrestlers, Chanu, Mishti, Kshal, Toshal and Kuta, they were killed by Krishna and Balaram. So there were cowherd boys also sitting in that arena who had come from Vrindavan with Nanda Maharaj. So one of them is Sridhama, who always loves to wrestle with Krishna in Vrindavan. So Sridhama, when he saw Krishna and Balaram, they killed these huge looking, monster-like looking wrestlers, Sridhama got curious. Is Krishna become more powerful? I always defeat him, but looks like he has eaten some good quality butter and he has become more powerful now. So he went and challenged Krishna. Krishna, come, I want to wrestle with you. He developed some doubt, maybe Krishna has become more powerful, I want to see. And then Krishna started wrestling right in that same arena. When all the Mathura was seeing Krishna wrestling with Sridhama, and Sridhama very easily pushed Krishna on the ground And he thought, Krishna, he's same Krishna, he's not powerful. He's same weakling who's always defeated by me. So he thought, if Krishna killed those, even I would have killed those wrestlers. So this is the attitude of the devotees who are in Sakhyarati, who have such attachment to Krishna as a friend. They don't see Krishna as God. There is absolutely no sense of reverence. And of course, even in the Sakhyarati there are different shades, like Arjun has some reverence. But Uddhava in Dwarka has more intimacy with Krishna, than Arjun. But the cowherd boys in Vrindavan, they absolutely have no sense of reverence. They see Krishna sometimes equal, and sometimes they consider Krishna as weak. They consider themselves superior to Krishna. So that is Sakhyarati. And then Vatsalarati, Mother Yashoda, and elderly gopis in Vrindavan, they don't even see Krishna equal. They think Krishna is dependent on me. Mother Yashoda is thinking, if I do not feed him milk, he is going to die. If I do not take care of him, he will eat dirt and he will spoil his health. So Mother Yashoda is thinking, Krishna is dependent on me. This is her thinking. In the attachment and love for Krishna, she is thinking Krishna is fully dependent on me. In contrast to what generally, the religious principle teaches, that we are dependent on Krishna. But here, Mother Yashoda thinks Krishna is dependent on me. But the same love, when further intensified, doesn't want to just see Krishna dependent, but want to bring Krishna under the control, like a puppet. And only a person who has intimacy, kind of conjugal relationship, only such a person has ability to control to such an extent. Now, because this love of Madhurya Rati is considered the topmost, even superior to the Vatsalya Rati, we'll just try to focus on this and try to understand how Vaishnava Acharyas have explained this Madhurya Rati. This love for Krishna as a conjugal lover has three different varieties. So Vaishnava Acharyas have explained, in three different varieties we can see or perceive this love of Krishna. When Krishna entered in Mathura, that time there was a maid servant of Kamsa. Her name was Kubja. She was a hunchback woman. Hunchback means her back was bent almost like 90 degrees. And she was very ugly looking. Young girl, but ugly looking. And she was maid servant of Kamsa. Her duty, her service was to make different kinds of ointments from the herbs, very fragrant oils and ointments, for the pleasure of Bhojapati, Kamsa. So Kamsa very much liked the ointment that she used to make. So, Krishna, when he entered in Mathura, Kubja was taking all the ointment to Kamsa's palace. And that's when Krishna met her on the road. And Krishna said, "Oh, young beautiful lady." He was just joking with her. But of course, Krishna even jokingly says something, Krishna, when he was saying, "Oh, beautiful young lady," he was actually looking at her heart. Her love for Krishna. Because this Kubja is none other than Surpanaka from Lord Ramchandra's pastimes. She wanted to have Lord Ramchandra as her husband. Okay. And what kind of attachment she had for Ramchandra? She had attachment to Ramchandra. Of course, she had selfish desire. She wanted to enjoy Ramchandra. She didn't want to have Ramchandra enjoy, but she wanted herself to be enjoyed. You know? She wanted Ramchandra to be the object of her enjoyment. But she was so desperate for it. So desperate for her, is that she sacrificed her brothers, Kharadushan. She wanted Sita to be killed somehow. If they died, she went to Ravana. You kidnap Sita. She was so desperate to have Ramchandra as her husband. And when nothing worked out, when even Ravana died, she actually went to Pushkaradweep and performed severe austerities, tapasya. You know. And Lord Shiva, being pleased with her, appeared to her. She said, I want to have Lord Ramchandra as my husband. Lord Shiva said, not now. You have to wait. When same Lord Ramchandra appears in Dwapar Yuga as Krishna, then you will have him. Then he will fulfill your desire. So Kupcha, she is the same Surpanka. She had desperate attraction towards Krishna. But her love is selfish. She wants to enjoy it with Krishna as husband and wife relationship, but she wants to enjoy. So Vaishnava Acharya has explained, this kind of love is an ordinary love. In conjugal relationship, it's an ordinary love. You know, where a person is more selfish oriented. So Kupcha, she offered the ointments to Krishna. Krishna said, what are these ointments? For whom they are? Would you like to share this? Would you like to spare those for me? And she was very happily to anoint all the ointments she was carrying to Krishna's beautiful body. Now you may think that, oh, what big deal? It was a big deal. It was in the streets of Mathura. Everyone knew in Mathura that Kamsa had got Krishna and Balaram to kill them. And somebody so lovingly offering ointments to Krishna, and that too, somebody who's made servant of Kamsa, she's risking her very life. She could actually be killed by Kamsa. Not could be. If Kamsa knew, he would have definitely killed her. So she took a great risk. Otherwise, Shukdev Goswami is not going to narrate somebody's lusty intentions, ordinary lusty intentions in Srimad Bhagavatam. So that was Kupcha's love for Krishna. But because that love is imbued with selfishness, Krishna reciprocates still that love, because Krishna comes under control by that love. But Krishna is not infatuated or attracted by that love. So later on, when Krishna killed Kamsa, he went to meet Kupja and fulfill her desires. But our Vaishnava Acharya explained, when Krishna went to meet Kupja, he was thinking, whether I live in the palace of Vasudeva or I live in the home of Kupja, it's one and same for me. Because my heart is not here. Krishna's heart was longing to be in Vrindavan. He wanted to go back to Vrindavan. In fact, this subject matter is so beautifully narrated by Sanatana Goswami, especially in Brihad Bhagavatam. How Krishna's heart is always longing to go back to Vrindavan. So that is ordinary love in conjugal relationship. But then there is selflessness in the love of the queens of Dwarka. The queens of Dwarka, they are not selfish oriented like Kupja. They actually have love for Krishna, but they still have tinge of selfishness, which is naturally developed in a marital relationship. The wife thinks, husband belongs to me, is mine, right? So that kind of selfish attitude is there in the queens of Dwarka, but their whole existence is to give service and satisfaction to Krishna alone. But the gopis of Vrindavan, their attitude is, as Kali Yuga progresses, it will be so difficult to even appreciate the loves of Brajvasi, especially the love of gopis for Krishna. You know why? It will be more and more difficult in Kali Yuga. Because nowadays, divorce and remarriage for man and woman has become common thing. But if you go 50 years ago, or maybe 100 years ago, it was unimaginable thing. Especially for women to leave the husband and go after another man was considered such a great blemish. The woman would practically not be able to go anywhere and show her face to anyone. That's no more the case. The culture has completely changed. So 5,000 years ago, when you're talking about gopis sacrificing everything to go and serve Krishna, give pleasure to Krishna, to satisfy him in every respect, it was unimaginable thing. It means a woman is sacrificing more than her life. Because dying is one thing, but living with that blemish is such an unimaginable thing. And especially when the society is having that kind of culture, it's so difficult to live for a woman. So the sacrifice of gopis, when Srila Prabhupada mentions in Krishna book or Srimad Bhagavatam, it's actually very, very difficult for people going forward in Kali Yuga. It will be unimaginably difficult for people to appreciate. So though it will be visible, one can read Srimad Bhagavatam, but still the appreciation will be so difficult to have. What big deal? If the gopis left their husband and went to another husband, fine Krishna. Right? We could think like that. But it was an unimaginable thing 1,000 years ago. And among all the gopis, especially the love of Srimati Radhika is something that captures the heart of Krishna. So, Krishna, who is Atmaram, who attracts everyone, everyone's mind is fully attracted to Krishna, and Krishna's mind is attracted to Srimati Radharani. This was actually visible when Krishna was performing Rasa Leela. During the Rasa Leela, Krishna left all the gopis and went with Srimati Radharani. And I remember one time, one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, Keshav Bharati Maharaj, he was giving class on Radhashtami Day. I think it was in New Vrindavan. So he was explaining some verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, he mentions in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Srimati Radharani, when she sees Krishna with some other gopi, apparently sometimes she becomes jealous. And she becomes very angry at that gopi and at Krishna. So Keshav Bharati Maharaj was explaining that somebody may think, oh, this is the ordinary jealous, if a woman is seeing her husband or her lover with somebody else, she naturally feels jealous because of sense of insecurity. He said, but in case of Srimati Radharani, when she expresses jealous anger, she knows she expresses that anger only for two reasons. One reason, she knows when she expresses that jealous anger, that gives unlimited joy to Krishna. When Krishna sees that face of Srimati Radharani, filled with that anger and jealousness, Krishna feels unlimited joy. That is one reason why she actually expresses that jealous anger. And sometimes she expresses jealous anger only because of one reason. She knows none of the gopis can actually give Krishna the satisfaction that Srimati Radharani offers him. Because Radharani is none other than Krishna himself. As Brahma Samhita says, Nija Rupataya Kalabhi. Nobody can give satisfaction to Krishna but Krishna himself only. So Srimati Radharani is his own form. In a feminine form, Krishna is trying to satisfy himself. So, these are the two reasons why Srimati Radharani sometimes expresses the jealous anger. So, I remember still the statement Keshav Bharati Maharaj was making said, she's thinking in the mind, Krishna, you rascal, you will be simply miserable with any other woman. So therefore she's thinking, she's expressing this jealous anger to attract him back. And Krishna is always eager to be in Braja. In fact, the Vaishnava Acharyas explained, Krishna never leaves or steps out of Vrindavan. Vrindavanam parityaj pada ekam na gacchati. Krishna never steps out of Vrindavan. But then we still see that Krishna is living with Akrura, right? So how do we understand that? If Krishna is so much attracted to the love of Brajvasis, and especially Gopis and Srimati Radharani, why we see that Krishna is leaving with Akrura? He's leaving, right? So the Vaishnava Acharyas have explained that Krishna sits on the chariot of Akrura to go to Mathura, and he tells the gopis, I will come back soon. And they go up to Vishram Ghat. In Vrindavan there's a place called Vishram Ghat. It's within Vrindavan only. That's a place where Akrura halted the chariot. There's a chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam where he wanted to take bath in Yamuna. Because the afternoon time, so he wanted to take bath in Yamuna. So he stopped the chariot there. Krishna Balaram was sitting on the chariot and Akrura entered into the river Yamuna. Okay. And then in Yamuna he had darshan of Lord Vishnu laying on Ananta Shesha. And then he saw Balaram. Ananta Shesha is actually none other than Balaram, and Krishna sitting on Balaram's body, that is. So he got amazed. He saw Krishna Balaram within river Yamuna. Then he looked outside on the chariot. He saw Krishna Balaram sitting on the chariot. Then he looked inside. He saw Krishna Balaram inside the river. So anyway, after he finished his bathing and came out, Krishna asked him, did you see something wonderful in the water? And Akrura said, anyone who has seen you has seen all the wonders of the world. So know for sure when you go and take darshan of Radha Madan Mohan, you have visited all the 7 wonders of the world. Yeah. And maybe more. So, Vaishnava Acharya explained, at that time when Akrura got on the chariot, Krishna Balaram left the chariot. So Shyam Sundar Krishna, he left the chariot, and only the Vasudev portion within Krishna, he left with Akrura to Mathura. So Krishna returned from that moment, that very point he returned back to Vrindavan. But we never hear that Brajvasi saw Krishna around. Krishna was in Vrindavan and he never left. But how is it that Brajvasis never saw Krishna in Vrindavan? This is explained by Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita through a beautiful pastime. So, when Lord Chaitanya took sannyas and he went to Jagannath Puri, when he was actually going to Vrindavan, Mother Sachi Mata, she told Lord Chaitanya, please don't go to Vrindavan. Live in Nilachal, live in Jagannath Puri. So Lord Chaitanya decided not to go to Vrindavan, but make Neelachal as his residence. So Lord Chaitanya was living in Neelachal, and whenever few devotees invoked Lord Chaitanya would actually leave Jagannath Puri and go to visit those devotees. Like whenever there was a kirtan in the house of Srivas Angan. Srivas used to live in Navadvip. So when Srivas Thakur would do kirtan in his courtyard, when the devotees would get together to do kirtan in his courtyard, Lord Chaitanya would personally appear in that kirtan. Though he was living in Neelachal that time as a sannyasi, he would still come there in the kirtan. Whenever the sister of Raghav Pandit, Damayanti, she cooked, different preparations, Lord Chaitanya would come to eat. When Raghav Pandit would offer, the Lord Chaitanya would actually come to eat. Similarly, whenever Sachi Mata offered bhoga in the home, and then she would make a plate that my Nimai would come and eat, Lord Chaitanya would every single day come to the house of Sachi Mata, sit in front of Sachi Mata and eat whatever she offered to him. But because Sachi Mata was in the mood of separation, she was thinking Nimai is living in Neelachal, she would think I'm hallucinating, I'm dreaming, that Nimai is coming and eating. So Lord Chaitanya told actually Jagadanand Pandit, Damodar Pandit, he said, when you go and see Mother Sachi, tell her that whenever she offers me food every day, I am dragged by her love and I come every single day to eat. But because she's in separation, she thinks that she's dreaming. So the intensity of separation makes Sachi Mata think that she's actually dreaming, though Lord Chaitanya is actually there in front of her and eating. Similarly, when Krishna returned from that point onwards, he continued to perform pastimes with Brajavasis. But because all the Brajavasis thought that Krishna left, they were thinking they are dreaming. So Krishna continued to perform the pastimes with all the cowherd boys, all the gopis, Mother Yashoda, Anand Maharaj. They all continued performing pastimes with Krishna. But because they were in the mood of separation, they were thinking Krishna is gone. So this is actually the intensity of love of Brajavasis. And among the Brajavasis, love of Srimati Radhika is the one thing that completely mesmerizes Krishna. Krishna cannot leave even for a moment the Brajavasis, and especially Srimati Radharani. So, this is the glory of Srimati Radhika. In fact, I remember one time Gauranga Prabhu was saying that we are not Vaishnavas, we are Shaktas. Shaktas means, especially those who worship Durga Devi, they are called Shaktas. So there are Shaivites and there are Shaktas. Shaivite means those who worship Lord Shiva, and Shaktas mean those who worship Shakti, the wife of Lord Shiva. But we are Shaktas because we worship the divine energy of Krishna, Srimati Radharani. When you go to Vrindavan, I don't know how many of you, has everyone been to Vrindavan? So when you go to Vrindavan, how many of you have heard people saying Krishna, Krishna? I never heard people saying Krishna, Krishna. Everybody says Radhe, 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 right? So, because the Vaishnavas, especially those who worship Krishna, they know it is practically impossible to approach Krishna. We cannot approach Krishna because Krishna is very crooked. He's a crooked God. So we approach him in a crooked way. We approach him through Srimati Radharani. Because it's so easy to approach Srimati Radhika. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Radharani, when she says, Krishna, this devotee, he has so much love for you. Krishna cannot refuse that devotee. And Radharani, what the nature of her love? If she sees somebody has even slight tinge of devotion to Krishna, she takes the devotee to Krishna. Krishna, this devotee has more love for you than me. That's how she sees. So, it is so easy to please Srimati Radharani. It is so easy to please and approach Krishna through Srimati Radharani. But if we try on our own to approach Krishna, even millions of lifetimes will not be sufficient. Because remember, Krishna is, crest jewel of Atmanam. Nobody can really attract him other than Srimati Radhika, other than the love of his devotees. So on this coming Radhashtami, we can actually consciously try to take shelter of Srimati Radharani, with a prayerful heart, that we can pray to her that no matter how much anartha and worldly distraction I have in my heart, Srimati Radharani, please give us shelter at your lotus feet. Give us a tiny drop of love and attraction that you have for Krishna to us as well, so that we can serve Krishna with pure, unmotivated, uninterrupted love. And Srimati Radharani can very easily give that. She won't hold any. Krishna, if somebody approaches Krishna for that love, Krishna will try to put so many tests. He will put so many distractions. Krishna will test our, intensity. If you say, Krishna, I am willing to do anything, he will test you through. Don't even make a mistake of saying that statement. He will really test you. But if you say same thing to Srimati Radharani, she will very easily bestow that mercy by which we can easily approach Krishna. So with this, I think we'll stop here. If anyone has any question, you may ask. Yes, Prabhu.
Speak on mic. We are on mic.
You can hear my thing.
Haribol.
You can hear you.
It's okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, I have a small question. Why Krishna will test so much?
Like this.
Oh, sorry. Why Krishna? Because we are surrendering to the Krishna, no, Prabhuji. Why he will test that much, Prabhuji? And what is the difference between Radharani is not testing and only Krishna is testing? What is the difference, Prabhuji?
Why Krishna will test? Because Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna, when he comes, he demands Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. So this is Krishna's condition. You see, Krishna in Vrindavan especially is surrounded by so many loving devotees. Okay? So if somebody is approaching Krishna, Krishna, I love you, that doesn't really appeal the heart of Krishna. So then, just to have fun, Krishna will say, okay, you love me, let me see how much love you have. No? But when Krishna comes in the mood of Srimati Radharani, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he knows the limitation of living entities. He exactly knows. And Srimati Radharani, being a feminine aspect of God, she knows the conditioned souls, what capacity they have. Generally, mothers, they are more driven by sentiments, right? If you approach the father will be more with a stick, right? So, generally, I remember whenever we needed anything that we knew will be questionable, we'll wait for father to leave the home and go to mother. So, I think that's what all the children do. So similarly, when we approach Krishna, Krishna will be testing. Because that's a, masculine form of the Lord. He thinks more in a rational way. But the feminine aspect of the Lord is more sentiment, more loving sentiments. So therefore Srimati Radharani does not really put to the test. Of course, that doesn't mean somebody can behave like a sahajiya, not following the rules and regulation of sadhana bhakti and just doing any nonsense and approaching Radharani. Still there will be benefit, but then, Radharani may take the form of Durga to punish the person. But Radharani is more merciful. As feminine aspect is always more merciful, as more loving and sensitive to a person's capabilities. Mothers always see the children as not so capable. Even if the child may be, minister or the president of the country, the mother seeing, oh, he's just my child. So she thinks in that way. So motherly affection is, or the feminine aspect of God is more kind and merciful. And that mercy you can see in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he's coming with the mood of feminine aspect of God. Srimati Radharani. How that makes sense?
Very nice explanation, Prabhuji. It's opened our eyes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Bol. So, we have heard many times that Radharani is more merciful than Krishna. But when we see the pranam mantra, in Krishna's pranam mantra, Dina Bandhu Jagatpate, Karuna Sindhu. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, Dina Bandhu. In Radharani's pranam mantra, which were, I think, proposed by Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he uses the form, he worships the form of Radharani, her relationship with her parents, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavan. So, why that aspect of Karuna or Dinata, not Dinata, but Dina Bandhuta, is highlighted with Krishna compared to Radharani? And second question is, even though Krishna was manifest, from what you said, Krishna was manifest in Vrindavan, even though he had left, but out of separation they could not believe that they are seeing Krishna. They thought they were dreaming. But Uddhava went and Shukdev Goswami was narrating Bhagavad. Why they never mentioned the manifestedness of Krishna even after he left? Hare Krishna. Thank you.
So coming to the first question, why in the prayers of Krishna and Radharani we don't see the mercy aspect highlighted? Well, the prayers are coming from the scriptures, so we simply take the prayers as given in the scriptures, highlighted. But we understand the mood of the prayers of the personalities of Krishna and Srimati Radhika through the words of Vaishnava Acharyas. And not just Srila Prabhupada, but all the Vaishnava Acharyas, especially in our Gaudiya Sampradaya, have unequivocally highlighted the merciful aspect of Srimati Radharani. It's not just that one prayer that we chant every day, but there are so many songs written on Srimati Radharani, which actually highlight her merciful aspect. Karuna Karumai, Karuna Bharite. So, from the words of Vaishnava Acharyas, we can understand the personalities. When we hear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Mahavadanyana avatar, the most merciful incarnation. Though in our prayer, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, we don't see that aspect is highlighted. But we hear from the Vaishnava Acharyas, they explain, here is the most merciful form of the Lord, more merciful than even Krishna. Yes, Krishna is Dina Bandhu, Jagatpate. There is no such prayer for Lord Chaitanya, but Lord Chaitanya is still considered more merciful than Krishna. So, how we understand that? We understand through the words of Vaishnava Acharyas. Prayers we can read, we read the prayers and we chant the prayers, recite the prayers for our purification and invoking the mercy of the Lord and His associates. But understanding the personalities, we have to do through the words of Vaishnava Acharyas. And what was your second question?
Can I add something to that?
Yes.
So
just when you're referring to the prayers, when we're saying, when we're chanting Krishna's prayers, that Dina Bandhu and all of that, it's still conditional. He's still putting conditions that Dina Bandhu, he's offering his mercy to, it's still conditional, right? When Krishna is placing conditions for offering himself, he's always placed conditions. Whereas Srimati Radharani and when the Acharyas have even glorified her, they've glorified relationship of devotees with Srimati Radharani, right? Her parents, Rishabhanu, she's Vrindavaneshwari. Her relationship is being highlighted even in those prayers. And as Rupanugas or as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, all we're trying to do is somehow develop a relationship with Srimati Radharani. It's not who you know. It's not what you know, it's who you know, right? Even in this world.
Yeah.
So, we want to somehow develop a relationship with Radharani. That was just my small realization.
Sorry, thank you for me. Definitely. What was the second question?
Shukdev Goswami and Uddhava did not mention the manifest form of Krishna while he was in Mathura and Dwarka apparently.
Yes. So, therefore, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami has mercifully explained, and our Vaishnava Acharya, especially Vishnu Kabir Thakur and other Vaishnava Acharyas have explained this aspect. Especially, I remember this information is spread in many different places, but one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, Shivram Swami Maharaj, he has put up together this entire understanding, such a highly philosophical, at the same time, very sweet understanding of Krishna's pastimes and explaining the manifest and unmanifest world that we hear very often. But what is the real meaning of manifest and unmanifest pastimes of Krishna? He explained in different levels in his book called Krishna Sangati. So that's like, different Vaishnava Acharyas commentaries taken together. Otherwise, when you hear Krishna never leaves out of Vrindavan and then Krishna is leaving and going to Mathura, you feel confused. And then you have no answer to that. But, Vaishnava Acharyas have given that understanding. And as far as Shukdev Goswami is concerned, we remember that Shukdev Goswami is actually narrating Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. Therefore, he is extremely careful not to even utter the word of Srimati Radharani. Because if he even takes once the name of Radhika, he will go in ecstasy for a few days. And then Parikshit Maharaj will be left without any help. So that's why we don't hear. And Uddhava is being narrated in the pastimes by Shukdev Goswami. Shukdev Goswami is very careful not to mention the name of Radharani. You want to add something?
No, I was just thinking that, I just read yesterday that Krishna was present in Vrindavan. He never leaves Vrindavan. And, it's very clear that the Brajavasis were having pastimes with him. They were having pastimes, but they would forget, or they would think, oh, we're hallucinating, or we're just... There's several incidences where even Sachimata, she would think, oh, I just made a plate of bhoga, maybe I forgot to put things in the plate. But Lord Chaitanya was eating. And now the visibility of Krishna to everyone is questionable. That's what we're questioning, right? Why was he not visible? So I was just remembering, I read yesterday, and I think I posted on the group too, what Srila Prabhupada was actually witnessing Narad Muni present on several occasions, whereas the devotees weren't able to. So there were certain devotees that were able to witness Krishna's presence as Shyam Sundar, in Shri Vrindavan Dham, but not necessarily to everyone. Because also he was trying to maintain the power of separation. Because when there is separation, then that coming together becomes more joyous. So that aspect also had to be taken care of. He doesn't shoot one target at a time. It's so many aspects to take care of.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for the nectar on this verse. I especially enjoyed the nectar on the relationships we have with Krishna, like the different ratis. I also had like some questions. So just the first one is, how exactly do we know like what rati or relationship we have with Krishna? Like in our day-to-day lives, when we're thinking of Krishna, we think of him as the supreme, and we're just like meek, humble, just a part and parcel of him. So there's so many different ratis, like Vatsalya rati, Madhurya rati, Dasya rati. So I guess we're somewhat of Dasya rati, like in our day-to-day lives. But I was just wondering how we know exactly what rati we have with him, or if it's like.
Actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur has instructed us that we approach Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always in Dasyarati as a servant, and if we simply keep worshipping Lord Chaitanya, seeing him as master and ourselves as servants, Lord Chaitanya will reveal to us what rati we are situated in. So all we need to do is just approach Lord Chaitanya in Dasyarati, seeing ourselves always as servant. Okay? And Lord Chaitanya will reveal to us.
Okay. Is that it? That's it?
That's it. It's so simple, right?
So simple. Yeah.
So we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra also in that mood of being servant of Lord. Because Lord Chaitanya has taught this Hare Krishna Mahamantra and come to us through Parampara system, Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Maharaj. So we always see Lord Chaitanya as our master, and whatever service we do as a service to the mission of Lord Chaitanya.
And my second question, if that's fine. So my second question was regarding the Nirgranthas. So the Nirgranthas, there were like a couple of different meanings, like some who have no regard for the scriptures, or some who don't have like affection. So I remember like you mentioning how some people, like when they advance in their spiritual lives, they see like all of the shastric rules and regulations as an obstruction to uplifting themselves in the spiritual process. So I wasn't able to like understand exactly, like they're indifferent to the rules and regulations, but like in what sense? Like some are deliberate, or some are like they feel like it's an obstruction to their own spiritual progress. Like in what sense do they disregard the rules and regulations?
Sure. So in Srimad Bhagavatam we read the example of Jad Bharat. Okay. So Jad Bharat Maharaj was actually King Bharat in the previous life, but then he became deer, and then third life he became Jad Bharat. So as Jad Bharat, he was a typical example of Nirgrantha, no regard for rules and regulations of scriptures. And in what sense he had? Like it is explained in Bhagavatam that his father would teach him that after evacuating you should wash your hands with proper soap and all. He would wash his hands so before evacuating with the soap, and after evacuating he would not wash. So you may say, yuck. But this is one example. Okay. So Bharat Maharaj was Nirgrantha because he had certain purpose to achieve through that. He was deliberately, not following the rules and regulation of scriptures, apparently to repel all the so-called worldly people who are actually look at, when you start following rules and regulation, for example, and you are very learned in the scriptures, people naturally start paying respects. And especially in the Vedic culture, people start looking at you as a great personality. And Bharat Maharaj did not wanted that. He did not want that people should come to me and respect me and And especially he wanted to make his father detached from him, because his father was too much attached to him. You know? So he wanted his father to become detached with him, and therefore he was deliberately behaving in this way as a nirgrantha. So this is, one of the reasons why some of the transcendentalists, they may behave in that way. We have another example in our Vaishnava Parampara, the Babaji Maharaj, Glories Babaji Maharaj. He would actually, we are not supposed to take our japmala inside the bathroom. He would take japmala and go to the public latrine, public place, and especially in India in ancient days they used to have public toilet. So he would go in public toilet place, and I don't know how many of you ever used public toilet. It's stinking, filthy place. Nobody wants to be there. You just want to be there to finish your job and come out as soon as possible. But he would go, lock himself inside and sit there and chant Hare Krishna. Not just 16 rounds. He would chant throughout the day. And what was the reason? He didn't want that materialistic people used to come to him and bother him. Oh, Babaji Maharaj, please give me blessings. You are so powerful. You are so exalted. Give me blessings. So he didn't want such people to come to him. To avoid them, he would just go and sit and meditate. So this is another example of, you can say, Nirgrantha. He doesn't care for rules and regulation. Make sense?
Yeah, okay, got it. So they just have like some sort of purpose to achieve like in their district. Okay. Okay, thank you so much for the education.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Great.
Manga, you want to add something?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So I had the question that we were talking about attachment. So sometimes even when we do devotional services, say some services give us more, we get attached or we connect with Krishna more in that service. But over a period of time, the services change or evolve. So how do we take that?
I'm not sure if I understood your question.
So my question is, Prabhuji, like sometimes even in devotional services, like say some might be attached to cleaning pots or some might be attached to book distribution. So, but sometimes the services can change or it can evolve. But then we are still attached to those services. So how do we, is it okay to be attached to services or how do we understand this?
Yes. I miss you. Smile on
When he sings mischievous smile, I remember Vijay Prabhu, fix your japa. I'm not trying to fix that. But so, it's very natural. As human beings, we don't like change. We pretend that we like change, we want to do different things. But we like stability, right? We become comfortable where we are and what we're doing. So sometimes we're burning something? No. Okay. I thought somebody became detached from this service instantly before I even answered. So sometimes attachment to service is very good because when the attachment helps us perfect our service and make a wonderful offering to Krishna. But then gradually what happens is when we continue to perform this service, then sometimes, I'm just saying my example, sometimes what happens, Krishna becomes secondary in our mind frame. We just continue to keep offering that service, and with that service comes a lot of appreciation. With that service comes recognition. With that service comes, you become a leader. You have followers. With that service sometimes brings monetary benefits. So a lot of different things come. And then the mood with which we really started that service somehow gets lost. So we need to be shaken up. You know, I was reading a psychology article somewhere, and they said if a person continues to sit on one chair, you know, like, you know, you go to your dining table, and you have your particular chair where you sit. It's just comfortable, right? You know, this is my chair, and Premanand does that all the time in our house. Nobody can sit on the chair he sits. So that's just because it gives you that sense of comfortness. But this article was saying that it's good if you want to challenge yourself and you want to try and open different opportunities, then you should move. You should not become attached to that one particular position. Now, having said that, you know, we become attached to a service, we want to do a service, and we continue to do our service. But when Krishna decides to shake us up a little bit, and we are able to see that somebody is able to do that service better and has more enthusiasm, then either we should try to assist them in their service, because that will shake us up a little bit, or we should be prepared to take on some challenges. Because when we take on these newer challenges, we're actually refining the diamond that we really want to be. If a diamond is polished only from one side, it's not really, you know, if somebody likes to wear jewelry, which I like, if somebody likes to wear jewelry, they know that a diamond's cut is very important, right? So if the diamond cut is important, then when we are refining ourselves in such a way that we are pleasurable to Krishna, then we should be willing to be cut and refined in every possible angle, shape. So if certain service is taken away, we have to reflect why it was taken away, what we can learn from it, and what is the new chapter that's going to open up. So it's not a stop sign. No, it's not an end of the book. It's just a new chapter. And if we take like that, then we don't become envious and we don't become depressed. We will just look at it as a new challenge, a new learning Krishna wants. And I can give you an example of Shankaranand Prabhu, which I love to give. So when he joined the temple, you know, he was assigned as the head cook he was cooking for the brahmacharis at that time. And you get inside scoop in the kitchen, right? When you're the cook, what is the best you get? That was his favorite service. He didn't want to give up. He was cooking, he was engaged, he was extremely occupied, and he just absolutely loved his service. So devotees were telling, no, you should preach. And he said, no, I'm very happy in the kitchen. But other devotees started to complain. He was using too much ghee. Devotees were complaining, or, you know, especially some particular devotees who wanted to eat. No. When you get the mic, then it's your turn. But when that happened, Maharaj called him to his room. And he went complaining to Maharaj. That, you know, I like this service, and they are telling me, and I'm doing this service, it takes me so many hours, and I'm engaged. And Maharaj just said, I want you to get out of that kitchen and go and preach. And would you deny that that was a good thing for him? So sometimes Krishna puts us in circumstances to actually take us, because he has the aerial view of our life. You know, when we're looking at our life, we're only seeing, you know, this is the right turn and this is the left turn, and we just have a limited view of our life. But when Krishna is putting circumstances in our life, it's coming through an aerial view. But he can see, oh no, there's going to be a ditch. Oh no, this person needs something else. Oh no, she needs to do something else. So we may be very stuck with a limited vision. But when we are open to receiving whatever is coming in our way and finding a way to connect it back to Krishna, then that's the success of that service. So our attachment is not to service, if I may put it that way. Our attachment is to be engaged in being whatever is pleasurable to Krishna. So no matter what service comes. If today he's allowing me to speak with so many people in front of me, then I will do that. If tomorrow my only service is cleaning the bathrooms, then I will do that. Because my attachment is to pleasing Krishna. Now you forgot what you wanted to say.
I think you covered practically everything, but I'll just give one example. Is Sachin Swami Maharaj was giving once. So one time Sachin Swami Maharaj was with one Gaudiya sannyasi from Gaudiya Math. So they were both in Himalayas somewhere, in traveling in Himalayas. So Sachin Swami Maharaj was very much impressed by the yogis there. The yogis were sitting, and performing tapasya. So he told Gaudiya sannyasi, isn't these sannyasis so amazing, these yogis, they are sitting here in such cold weather and performing their tapasya, and they practically don't have any possessions. So Gaudiya sannyasi said, you want to see some fun? So one yogi, he was sitting under a tree, so he got up from there to take bath. Went to the river Ganga to take bath. Sachinand Maharaj went, this Gaudiya sannyasi went and sat on the seat of the yogi. And Sachin Maharaj sat next to him, and they were continued conversing and talking. Yogi came back, and he was so angry at this Gaudiya sannyasi. He started yelling at him. How can you sit on the Malu? I mean, he was talking local language. He said, just get out of here. So Sachin, he told Sachin Maharaj, just see, he's a yogi. He has given up home and everything, but he's so attached to this particular seat where he's sitting. And therefore our Goswami, they would not even sleep under the same tree. Every night they would sleep under a different tree. So coming to the same point, you may be having attachment to service, but that attachment could actually be a material aspect of our attachment, seeking some comfort zone. So I think if sometime Krishna is removing us from that position, we should take it as mercy of Krishna to trying to make us detached. It was actually painful, even when I was removed. It was extremely painful. It was not easy. And it's good. And it's not something unnatural. It's natural for the soul to be attached. Anything, it remains in contact with for a long time. So rest assured, if you have a chair in the home which you are sitting every day, when time for disposing the chair, it will be difficult for you to sell also. Because it's natural for us to become attached to anything. I hope that answers.
No, it's not audible. You skip straight, right?
Hello, Hare Krishna. So the question is, you mentioned about the Sakya Rasa, right? Sakya Rasa, you said like one feels the Krishna is equal. But how do we understand when Krishna is supreme personality of Godhead? Like we cannot consider anyone to equal to him. Right? I mean, even we cannot consider even Shiva is equal to Krishna. How can we consider ourselves to be equal to Krishna? So how do we understand that?
So that is tattva. Tattva is na tat sama va abhidikcha drishyate. The philosophical truth is nobody can be equal to or above Krishna. That is philosophical. But when you're talking about the relationship with Krishna, that becomes a Leela aspect. Having loving relationship with Krishna. In loving relationship, one can consider himself to be superior or equal to Krishna. And there's nothing wrong in it. Okay? And therefore, it is said to be the influence of yoga maya. It's a maya. Maya means that which is not, which doesn't exist. So a person is thinking himself to be equal to Krishna. It is not reality. It is influence of maya. But the influence of yoga maya, which is bringing a person closer to Krishna. Yunjati is bringing close Krishna, living entity closer to Krishna. Therefore, that is actually very conducive. So there's nothing wrong in it. To think oneself to be equal to or more than Krishna, not because of Mahamaya, but because of Yoga Maya. So a person who continues to take shelter of Yoga Maya, and then he develops this attitude that I am actually superior or equal to Krishna, that attitude is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong in it. Because that's impelled by Yoga Maya. It's Maya only, but the Maya which is bringing a living entity in close proximity with Krishna. Hope that answers your question.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. So, whatever we do, if even considering ourselves to be equal to Krishna, if that aspect pleases Krishna, because Krishna is like Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whatever pleasures we have with the relation mother, so motherly relation, like friend relation, if we provide, means as a service, if we provide that, that brings happiness to Krishna. So that's why it is.
Yes. So because it is pleasing to Krishna, it is bringing us closer to Krishna, therefore it is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong in it. Yeah. Very good. Yes.
Very good. Everyone, Prabhuji, and Pranam, I'll go to Srila Prabhupada. My question is about the desire to see Krishna or to experience Krishna's pastimes. And I have the vision, the divine vision. In the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we have seen that before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, Madhavendra Puri had the darshan. And then, even during the time of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, some few exceptional devotees got the darshan of Krishna directly, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu directly, and he revealed his identity as Krishna to them. And then after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, we have few examples where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would, or Krishna would give them darshan, direct darshan. So as a devotee of Krishna, as a follower of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, is it wrong to desire darshan of Krishna, or is it wrong to pray to Krishna to have the vision, some kind of vision or darshan in our lives?
Actually, there is nothing wrong to aspire to have darshan of Krishna. But if we follow the words of Vaishnava Acharyas, by Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Thakur said, we don't try to see Krishna, but we try to serve Krishna in such a way that Krishna becomes eager to see us. I think some time ago somebody had posted a beautiful cartoon. It was such a beautiful and instructive cartoon. The curtain is closed and devotee is trying to peep through the curtain to see Krishna inside the altar. And there was another cartoon where devotee is sweeping the temple floor and Krishna is peeping through the curtain to look at him. So just between the two, what do you would prefer? Second one, right? And that's what our Vaishnava Acharyas teach us, that you try to serve Krishna in such a way that Krishna desires to see you. So there's nothing wrong if you have aspiration, I want to have vision of Krishna. It's actually wonderful vision, desire. But more superior to that is what Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Thakur has taught us. To serve Krishna in such a way that Krishna becomes eager to see you. Because if I'm desiring to see Krishna, there is a problem there. Because Krishna may or may not give darshan. He's completely independent. So, if Krishna doesn't give darshan, I may become frustrated. Like, Shankaranand Prabhu, he gives very often examples. You pray to Krishna, Krishna, please give me this. And I think, Krishna, please give me this. And he said, Krishna, please, please, please give me this. And finally he said, Krishna, please, 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 please give me this. And it still doesn't happen. Then you say, why are you not giving? So that becomes a problem. Because when you ask Krishna why you're not giving, Krishna will become more adamant. Because he likes to have the fun. But the other process is very safe. You continue serving and you don't care to see Krishna. And then Krishna becomes eager. Who is this person? He doesn't care for me. He just continues to serve. Krishna becomes attractive. And that is our aim. Hope that makes sense?
Actually, just adding to the same point, in deity worship, oftentimes we say we're going to go take darshan of the deities, but Pankaj Angri Prabhu would always stop us at the Mayapur Academy, and he said we don't take darshan of the deities. We go and stand before the deities so that they can cast their glance upon us. And that's actually darshan. Our darshan doesn't mean really anything. But the darshan is that the Lord cast his glance upon us. And that is auspicious, when the Lord cast his glance upon us. So similarly, when we're just continuing to do our service, even the process of desiring to wanting to see Krishna, how do you do that? There is a process, right? How do you see Krishna? It's by continuing to serve him. And when you continue to serve him, he wants to see you. So the process is also achieved only by service. There's no other way to achieve that.
Hare Krishna. So my question is, related to what you were mentioning about Sachinanand Maharaj and the Gaudiya Sannyasis interaction with the yogi. So sometimes, when if we are serving deities for some time, we develop some attachment with them. Krishna in that particular form. So it's not like, though Krishna can exhibit himself in different, with different face cuts and not just exactly like the deities we serve, we still have some attachment to that form of the deity. And if we want to take other examples, like we have attachment to our beads, our kantimala, and many other things which we see as Krishna's mercy. So, what is the difference between that consciousness of a devotee and the yogi who could see his asana as Krishna's mercy, and that is his way to do his tapasya and connecting to Krishna? So how do we know that that was not his consciousness, or whether the consciousness that we may have toward our connections to Krishna as material or spiritual?
So if I understood your question, that yogis might have the consciousness that the seat that he's sitting on is also specifically non-different or mercy of Krishna, and therefore he's attached to that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, even if we consider that the yogi is having that vision that this is mercy of Krishna, if mercy of Krishna is going to somebody else, he should be very happy. So somebody else got the mercy of Krishna, he should be very happy, right? That is our Vaishnava consciousness. The very fact that a person becomes angry for an object is not really the sign of, seeing the things in spiritual perspective. It's a material vision. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Dhayato Vishayan Pums Sangasteshu Bhadayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kama Krodho Bijayate. So the Krodha or anger is manifested because of Kama. Because of Kama, when we develop attachment, and when that attachment is frustrated in some way, that gives anger. That gives birth to anger. So whenever we see anger manifested, generally, I'm not talking about the Nityasiddha associated with their exhibiting anger. Their anger is in a very different perspective, as we were discussing, Radharani is exhibiting anger is only to give pleasure to Krishna. But ordinarily, in the material world, whenever we see anger, anger is actually because of frustrated karma. Karma is frustrated, therefore there is anger. So if a sadhaka or a yogi exhibiting anger is only because of frustrated karma. Even Durvasa Muni exhibiting anger is not considered as spiritual anger in any way, right? Because he was hungry. Radha Govind Maharaj explains that especially when sannyasis, when they perform a lot of tapasya, the Agni Tattva actually is very much enhanced in them. That means small things make them very angry. But in household life, the person gets so many slaps every time. his anger is always, he becomes more mellow down. But sadhus and, especially sannyasis, they tend to become more angry very easily. Okay? So, in general, when you see anger manifested, especially in sadhakas, any practitioner, it is due to the frustrated karma. So yes, we don't have any ways and means to see the heart of the yogi, but there are certain ways or certain criteria which actually, according to our Vaishnava Acharyas and also according to Krishna and Bhagavad Gita, by which we can understand whether it is spiritual anger or material anger. Okay. Make sense?
Yes,
And also, it just reminds me of this important aspect that Srila Prabhupada really emphasized on. That spiritual life is like walking on the edge of a razor. When I try to think of that, how many of us feel that we're walking on the edge of the razor on a day-to-day basis? We don't. What does that really mean? In true aspect, that spiritual life means walking on the edge of the razor. Just before that, we were hearing the story of Jada Bharat, who was Bharat Maharaj, left everything, to practice devotional service, becomes attached to a deer, takes birth as a deer, and then as a deer he remembers himself, and then again he has to take birth as Jada Bharat, and now he's super cautious. He realizes that he's walking the edge of the razor. Similarly, in our lives, it's very natural that we become attached to our beads, we become attached to, and we can justify that also, right? This is my home, but I'm using it in service of Krishna, and we have all the ways and means and intelligence to justify it also. But when Krishna takes something away, then we should raise both our hands immediately. That is the true test of whether we are truly careful about walking on the edge of the razor. If the beads break, yes, we have sentiments toward beads because they were helping us remember Krishna, or helping us, or we had sentiments with our guru, whatever it is. But if that is taken away, that shouldn't stop our service. What happened in the case of Maharaj Bharat, that slowly and gradually he stopped his service. And he just focused on the deer, right? So whenever a particular service or a particular object, we become so attached that we stop our service to Krishna, then you should know we're in danger zone. We need to just raise our hands, quit everything, and reorient ourselves in such a way that we're safe and we don't get cut. So I think such circumstances just remind us of the gravity of, we laugh and we chant and we say Keval Ananda Kanda, but we're still on the edge of the razor. We have to always try to balance between the two and remember that, it's a serious thing. What we're trying to achieve is not a joke. It's not an easy thing. The goal that we have set for ourselves is a very high goal, and it's not an easily achievable target. So we have to constantly reorient ourselves in a way that we're safe.
Thank you, Prabhuji and Mataji, for the wonderful explanation. So, Prabhuji, just follow up on this is, So when we have healthy sentiment toward our kantimala and beads, for example, we don't think that if I give my kantimala to someone else, they are getting mercy, so I'm okay. So, I mean, we just like you were explaining that the yogi could feel that someone else is getting Krishna's mercy, so they are happy about it. But we don't like usually think of the same way when devotees have attachment toward a certain object. For example, even when we see, of course, exceptional examples like Radharani or Krishna. So Radharani doesn't necessarily feel happy about Krishna going somewhere else. So always that desire is there to, or that strong attachment is there toward Krishna and his mercy and his association. So, like when we are seeking that kind of the reciprocation that Krishna gives us when it is through all these means, when we lose any of these means and we have healthy attachment to that, so does that count as material or spiritual is what I am trying to understand.
Actually, the definition of healthy attachment is, as Govind mentioned, that even if that object of attachment is gone, my service is not stopped. That's the definition of healthy attachment. Okay. So as far as you told about Radharani feeling angry, it's not because she feels angry because Krishna is going somewhere else. She's feeling angry just to give pleasure to Krishna. Her manifestation of anger is also simply for the pleasure of Krishna. It's not that she's feeling jealous. She's feeling why I am not getting mercy. No. Srimati Radhika never feels like that. No. In fact, Krishna Kaviraj Goswami glorifies Srimati Radharani's love as comparing with just give the example, the love of that Brahmani that is given in Mahabharata. The Brahmani, the wife of a Brahmana, her husband was attached to a prostitute. He was a Brahmana, and he's attached to a prostitute. And he wants to go and associate with the prostitute. So she takes the role of a maid servant in the house of that prostitute and pleases the prostitute by her service. And when prostitute says, okay, what should I do now for you? I'm willing to do anything. She says, please give pleasure to my husband. So Krishna Kaviraj Goswami is quoting this example from Mahabharata, that this is how Radharani thinks. If another gopi is giving pleasure to Krishna, I will go and become her maid servant. This is the extent of love Srimati Radharani has. Okay. So Radharani does never feel jealous. She doesn't have any competitive spirit. There is absolutely no material attachment. The attachment is only to one thing, how Krishna will be happy. This is the only object of Srimati Radharani's whole existence, how Krishna will be happy. Okay. So similarly, following in the footsteps of Srimati Radharani, if we simply try to develop that, then automatically, any material and spiritual attachment will be actually visible to our eyes. If we simply seek the mercy of Radharani, we'll be able to see, okay, this is material attachment. This is not actually what is conducive. Krishna is trying to take it away, it's only for my good. And you will continue your service with much more vigor and sincerity. So continuation, as Gurukha pointed out correctly, continuation of service is the sign of healthy attachment.
Also, it's so important to develop the aspect of, I project so loud, I didn't even realize I didn't have a mic. So, also it's so important to, cultivate the mood of compassion. Because just look at the lives of our spiritual masters, By chanting on beads and accepting us as the disciple, they're taking karma. Here, even we are trying our best to wear this ring, this karma will be solved, you'll chant this mantra and this karma will be solved. only somebody who's that compassionate can think about, uplifting others. It takes a lot to just forget your own identity to such an extent that you're just so busy in uplifting yourselves that you're just taken care of by Krishna. When that you just take that as your service to such an extent. So even in our own lives, that's what Srimati Radharani exhibits. Is actually compassion on one side, it's just engaging souls in. And she genuinely sometimes feels that this devotee is better than me. This devotee is better than me, and that they can serve Krishna better than me. And when we try to cultivate that compassion within our hearts and practice it, we will also start seeing so many wonderful qualities in devotees. And we will see them better than us, because they are better than us in many ways.
Thank you, Prabhuji, Mataji. So I was asking more in the context of when Krishna goes to meet with like other gopis and that one, but I will ask in private later. So one related question can I ask? Is that,
sure, please.
So when we see that Mother Yashoda is spending time with baby Krishna and then the milk flows out. So there we understand that Krishna is preferring Mother Yashoda to directly serve him instead of through taking care of the milk and indirectly serve. At the same time, we also hear that Aradhanam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Param Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadyanam Samarchitam. So Samarchanam. So when we hear that, we also understand that we serve Krishna by becoming servant of the servant of the servant. How do we understand these contrasting views that in one place Krishna is directly asking the devotee to serve him, whereas we see this quotation I think from Padma Puran by Lord Shiva. He is saying that serve the like servant of the servant of the servant. That is more glorious than serving the Lord directly. So how do we see this contrasting views?
So there are always two things which we have to keep in mind. One is tattva and one is rasa or lila. So tattva sometimes may appear to be contradictory to lila. But lila is only for rasa or for enjoyment. Doesn't necessarily mean it's establishing siddhanta. No. Lila is simply for the joy or the pleasure of the Lord. Okay? So when Krishna is thinking Mother Yashoda should be serving me, should be feeding me milk, that is not tattva. He is demanding it as a leela. He wants to enjoy that way. And Mother Yashoda leaving Krishna and taking care of milk is leela, but also is a crucial siddhanta. Mother Yashoda doesn't care for siddhanta at this point. She's simply thinking of leela. Why this milk should be wasted? She's thinking only engaging everyone in Krishna's service. This milk should be engaged in Krishna's service as well. So her concern is engaging everyone in Krishna's service. Like, preacher. So she's trying to protect the milk from, falling away from Krishna's service. So therefore, she's going and taking care of the milk. But it's also establishing a siddhanta that you said. Aradhanam api sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam. Tasmat paratham devi tadyana. So this tadya, something that can be used in Krishna's service, is being protected by Mother Yashoda. But this is all leela. So you never bring, if you try to understand siddhanta in leela, you will be utterly confused. So when you understand tattva, before you enter in leela. But once you enter leela, keep siddhanta and tattva aside. You may learn lessons from leela, but leela is simply for relishing, for enjoying.
We'll take one last question.
Yes, one last.
No, it's okay.
No, we'll take two, Prabhu. I think we'll take two. There's a tie.
No, it's okay.
No,
Bro.
Questions going on.
Thank you very much.
question.
Okay. No, it's probably some philosophical question. Tattva is there.
This is related to both Tattva and Dela Mataji. Both can answer. So, just my simple question is, how do we differentiate? Prabhu is saying some aspects is projecting in the Leela, some are in Tattva. So, how do we differentiate?
One time, as well as Radha Govind Maharaj was explaining, he was narrating about Ramayana Leela. So Hanuman is going to Lanka to find Mother Sita. So somebody asked a question from Maharaj. Because Hanuman, when he enters into Lanka, he takes a tiny form, very tiny form of Hanuman. So somebody asked question to Maharaj, Maharaj, Hanuman was given ring by Lord Ramchandra. What happened to the ring?
Did it stay the same size or it became smaller?
Now what do you say?
Again, speculation. Ring also becomes small.
Yes. So, if Hanuman has siddhis, he has yoga siddhis that he can shrink himself, he can shrink Lord Ramchandra's ring also. And one may say, no, Lord Ramchandra's ring is Lord Ramchandra's ring. How it can shrink? By Lord Ramchandra's mercy, it can also shrink. So, especially when we come to relish Leelas, Tattva is something. Therefore, here Prabhupada says, when you read first 9 cantos of Bhagavatam, you are liberated. That means, employ your intelligence to understand Tattva only till 9th canto. Till 9th canto, use your intelligence, logic, everything to understand Tattva. But when you enter into 10th canto, leave aside Tattva. Just relish. Prabhupada said, actually, the liberation at the end of 9th canto, that means the pure joy begins from the 10th canto. So there you don't bring your logic and tattva. You just simply relish it. So similarly, when we are hearing the pastimes of the Lord, yes, sometimes we may have wonderful tattva lessons, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains which demon represents what. That's good to learn from the, Vaishnava commentary. But Leelas are mainly for relishing, because by relishing we get attracted to Krishna. And ultimate aim of our Siddhanta or whatever we do here, Leela, is to get attracted to Krishna. Make sense?
Perfect.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. We just wanted to share one, not a question, just one quick example of the point that you made, that we want to do services where Krishna should want to see us. Just want to share one example. When I was in Ujjain during Shravan, there is Mahakal Yatra. So a lot of people from various parts of the world, not world, especially India, they come. And there was one group of completely blind people. Okay, not like they can see a little bit. These were completely blind people. And they had called Sadhan Siddha Prabhu, that we want to come here. It said temple is closed from 12 to 4. After 4 o'clock you can come. These people came at 4 o'clock and there was a bus driver that they had. And they said, but on that specific day, the Pat was to open at 5:30 because painting was happening within the order and surrounding to that. So that bus driver got frustrated with, as we said, it's not open today. It's going to open at 5:30. So this bus driver got frustrated. Arey, inko to jaan do, inko to dikhta bhi nahi hai. So one of the blind people, they said, Arey, humko nahi dikhta hai, Bhagwan ko to dikhta hai na. They were not so that's their consciousness that they're there to.
That's nice.
That is actually the true meaning of darshan. As quoted by Pankajangri Prabhu and Janamdas Prabhu. Thank you.
So once again, thank you to all the devotees for taking out your time. And we appreciate very much. Thank you very much for coordinating all of this.
Thank you, Shankaranand Prabhu and Govinda Priya Mataji, for coming all the way from Sacramento and giving us your valuable association. I just want to point out they are yesterday and today double and triple booked for different services. Still, they have compassionately and prioritized this event and come here and gave their association. Also, their son Krishnanand's birthday yesterday, and
I'm so sorry, Krishna. I couldn't be there, the part of party yesterday.
So they have planned to be with Krishnanand today outing, and we spoiled their private time. So to compensate that, we have a cake from Chinkita Mataji for Krishnanand. We have a cake cutting ceremony now. Yeah, we'll cut the cake.
Everyone, please bless Krishnanand that he may attain pure devotional service by taking shelter of Srimati Radharani. Please bless him.
Jai. Hari Bol.
Krishnanand, do you have any aspiration?
Chant more rounds, probably. Yeah.
So let's all chant together Hari Bol 3 times for Krishnanand. Hari Bol. Hari Bol.